This is the first time I've ever had anyone on the show to talk about judgment and settlements, and I thought when I heard about this, I thought, this is something that maybe you need to know about, because maybe there's something how far back can you go?
As far as we need to.
Yeah. So if you get a settlement, say you got one 3 years ago and you just kind of given up on it, is there something you can do with that?
Yes, definitely. Judgments, if it's been filed with the county clerk, they're valid for 10 years, then you can, keep renewing it every 10 years. So yes, I mean, it can be as old as it needs to be, but usually the older they get, sometimes it may be a little bit more difficult to collect, or maybe sometimes
they change corporations and do it.
And
people know how to do that.
Right.
If they want to get out of paying.
Well, that's just it. People know how to hide,
and
so that's where I come in. So
this is now you mentioned that. Now, are we talking about like suppose I had a new bathroom put in, but it leaked and it was a mess, and I go to small claims court or big claims court. I don't know what you go to, but anyway, you go somewhere.
Right.
And the judge says, you're absolutely right, I've seen the evidence, and we give you the judgment for $10,000. And then you go, now what? Because the court doesn't give you that money.
Right. They just say who wins, you have your judgment, and so now the rest is up to you. So basically...
And people don't know how to...
They don't. Like, where do I go? Where do I start?
So you call the guy and say, I got the judgment, can I get the money? And the guy goes...
Right. And usually at that point, I think that both sides are so, they have their strong convictions, feeling like I'm right, and then the judge renders a decision. But even then, when the decision is rendered, they're still not going to give up. They still feel they shouldn't have to pay. So, there's avenues to take, like seizing bank accounts. If you have
a court approved a settlement,
right.
It would seem to me you have a little bit more.
Oh, that's definitely your legal right. The judge in the court stated that this is what you are owed, but like I said, now it's up to you. So the court at that point is done, and so the rest is up to the person who's been awarded the judgment.
And we mentioned before the show, I got a judgment against a person who did some really bad roofing on me. And of course we thought, okay, well, we got the judgment, so we called the guy, and the guy
laughed and probably said, yeah, anyway, good luck.
Then he said, well, I put it in my wife's name now, or something, did one of those little
Unfortunately,
switch and bait or
people
something.
do a lot. They really do a lot to, continue on the farce or to hide, but we have ways, like I said, seizing bank accounts.
But legitimate businesses probably are not going to do the shuffle.
I don't think that people intentionally, there are some people who, really just didn't have the money. So I don't think that it's their intent to not pay. I just don't think that a lot of times they're voluntarily going to pay. So sometimes you have to kind of nudge them.
Would you reach a settlement? Because you're integral to getting this help to these people or to the average person. Could you set up something like, okay, you'll pay me $50 a week?
Oh yeah, things are negotiable.
If they owe you $10,000, they may not have the $10,000 to pay.
But usually at
even
that
though they
point,
got it from you to begin with, right?
Yes, but at that point, usually people aren't really interested in negotiating. If it has gone to that extreme and you've ended up in court, usually the whole, negotiating, trying to come to terms, that's pretty much gone out the window. Because if that was the case, they probably would have done it before. So now you have to basically say, okay, what's my next course of action?
And this is where you come in.
Right.
Now, how did you learn all this?
Well, it's funny because I owned a business years ago, and I had been awarded a number of judgments. And I'm like, okay, I thought too, okay, now I have the judgment that people are going to pay, but they did not pay. So I had to learn a little bit about it, and I actually went to school and became a paralegal, and just in my course of just learning and just people and just finding things out.
You learn the techniques.
Right, exactly. So,
to do that.
There's wage garnishment if you happen to know where the person works. But I think also the key that has been really beneficial is social media, because people post pretty much everything and anything. So you can find out where someone is working, you can find
They
out.
don't realize.
Right, they really don't. I've located so many people that way, just finding out where they work, where they're living now. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is where they've moved to. This is where they were.
They leave a track. I mean,
Right.
we all know. I mean, I use Facebook, and I use it for the show primarily. But you can find out what
you can
community
find out
I live
anything.
in.
Right.
And, you can, and that's okay, because I don't owe anybody anything.
Right.
So I'm good.
So you're good.
But if I see you knocking on my door,
Right.
I'm going to be a little bit concerned about this.
You're funny.
Now, what kind of settlements would you be looking at? I mean, we talked about, like, if you had a bad roof or bad
Right,
plumbing.
small claims court, and then there's civil court. Like small claims court.
Oh, you said civil too?
Yeah, so there's criminal judgments, people
Really?
who are awarded judgments, because of a criminal act, and the judge has rendered a certain monetary amount to the victims. So there's criminal judgments.
And they don't enforce a civil?
In terms of enforcing, usually with criminal it's a little bit different because there's like a probation and stuff like that. So usually but if someone has no money to give, so if someone's unemployed or they have no funds, or there's also
You can't get blood from a
exactly,
stone, right?
and there's income that people do receive that is judgment proof, like Social Security, disability, and monies from the Department of Social Services. So that can't be seized. And like I said, some people
And if they
are
don't have any income, what can you do?
right. So there are some of those judgments where we would assess it and be like, at this point in time, there's really nothing to do. But sometimes people's circumstances will change.
If they get an inheritance, would that be touched?
Well, if you know where the bank account is,
Okay.
and people own property, you can put liens on their property, you can seize cars and force an auctioning to take the monies from the proceeds of the auction.
You have a wealth of information, don't
Yeah,
you?
so.
Now, this is not like when you get a, what is it? What do they call them when you get those, you win a lottery or something?
No, I know what you're saying. Like people will get a settlement and then they kind of like settle out and they'll get like a big chunk and stuff. But no, this is different. This is
different.
primarily
This is
just court-ordered judgments.
Court-ordered judgments.
Yes.
So if you've had a court-ordered judgment and maybe didn't even know you could collect, then this is kind of, you should talk to somebody who's aware of this.
Definitely.
And Monica, of course, is aware, but there might be other people. But anyway, it gives you an idea that you don't have to sit back and be a victim twice over.
Exactly.
Because you've been a victim the
Right.
first time, and now you're a victim again because you got the award and they dangle that carrot in front of you and you
Exactly.
can't do anything.
Because people want closure.
Yeah.
So they feel that going to court is going to basically end everything,
Yeah,
and it really doesn't. It just
doesn't.
kind of reopens it
Well,
again.
you
because
taught me a lot, Monica. I'm so
Yeah.
glad
Oh,
that
that's
you're in our
good,
community.
good.
Where are you located?
I actually, my office is in Niskayuna, but we can do pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, because it's all paperwork. so
Exactly.
yeah.
It's just like going through the mail and stuff like that. So.
Okay, so if you're watching in Tacoma, Washington, no. Well, we are on the internet, so you could be watching in Tacoma,
Right.
Washington. But anyway, thank you so much
You're
for being
welcome.
here
Thank you for having
and giving
me.
us an overview of what it's like to go to small claims court or civil court and find out that even though you got the judgment, you can't get anything.
Right. That's where the work begins.
Then the work begins with somebody else, because unless you can try and figure it out yourself like this lady did, but not everybody can do that. Save the time, get somebody who knows what they're